It was the absolute worst diet advice I ever got. We're going to talk about that today. Hello everyone, Semi-Retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. Today we are going to talk about the worst diet advice I ever got. And the reason we're talking about this today is that there's still people out there living by this diet, promoting this diet. And in my personal opinion, it's terrible advice. First of all, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by. What you're watching is you're watching me walk. A little over 21 months ago, I couldn't do this. I could barely stand for a couple minutes without severe pain. Now I'm out here walking every day and doing lots of other things as well. If you're returning to the channel, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. It means a lot to me that you spend just a few moments of your day with me. I'd like to ask everyone's help to help me get the word out that it's never too late to change your life. I am 60 years old and I'm doing things that I couldn't do when I was 40. Why don't you go ahead and hit that thumbs up, drop down in the comments and say hi Bob. And if you haven't subscribed yet, why don't you drop down and hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. All these things are absolutely free and they help me get the word out that it's never too late to change your life. We all have to keep working towards this goal of getting the word out because we're up against it. There's so much propaganda out there. And is my way the only way? No, I don't think so. But I definitely know what doesn't work for me. And in watching other channels and videos, there seems to be a lot of people that this standard advice doesn't work for. I'm still a little winded from being sick, and I'm going up that first big hill because I'm going to try and get all the way around the big block today. But it is a beautiful day here in Omaha, Nebraska. Not quite as warm as it was yesterday. It's about 52 degrees out. The sun is mostly shining. And they're calling for today to be the coldest day of the week. So I'm kind of anxious to see what the rest of the week's going to bring. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump right on into this thing. Now that I'm at the top of that first big hill. Whew. Sorry, that's a lot harder when you've been sick for a week. But I wanted to get out here and push the walk even further today because as bad as I'd felt for the last 5-6 days, I felt a lot better when I got my walk in yesterday. So hopefully, walking even further today will make me feel even better. But the worst diet advice I ever got, as most of you know that have been following my channel for a while, about 15 years ago, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Hang on just a second.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Oh, not too bad. About yourself?
Doing great, thank you.
Okay, I'm back. As many of you know, about 15 years ago I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And at that time, my A1C was 10.3. And of course the doctor had me sit down. I can't say whether, I just don't remember whether she was called a nutritionist or a dietitian. either way, it was the same bad advice. But she put me on what she called a carb-controlled diet. Not low carb, not by any stretch of the imagination. Her thinking seems to be, well, it was, because that's the diet she gave me. Have 3 meals a day between 60 and 75 carbs. And then have 3 snacks of about 15 carbs. Start adding all that up. Wow, that is a crap load of carbs. I know that now. And the real issue that I have with this diet is that it actually seemed to be working a little bit. Because, as I said, my A1C started at 10.3, and it did come down over the next 3 months. Not a lot, but it actually, because the idea was to eat the same number of carbs at the same time every day, it would give your body a chance to adjust to them. And because you were eating 6 times a day, you stayed fairly satiated. Not really, but that was the idea. And the amount that my A1C came down was down to high 7s and low 8s. When I had a doctor's office visit that was slightly under 8, he'd say, "Good job." And if it was slightly over 8, he would say, "You may want to watch that just a little bit." And of course, I thought I was doing great. Come to find out later, when I stumbled upon Dr. Barry and all of the others, that any A1C, 5.6 is normal, and anything above 5.6, you're starting to show pre-diabetes, which is basically just, I like to think of it as low-dose diabetes, but you're still doing damage, because as we've talked about in previous videos, it's not the average of 5.8 or 6.0 that does the damage. It's because if you're eating a standard Western diet, you get the up and down spikes, and it's the high spikes that do the damage. So who knows how high things were getting still, while I was, averaging around 8. It took some pretty big spikes to get there. Excuse me. But the real problem I have with this is that if you, watch Dr. Ben Bickman or Dr. Jason Fung or any of the other people that talk about this, eating all the time, 3 meals a day plus 3 snacks, it keeps your insulin elevated all day long. And only at night when you go to sleep does it start to come back down. And of course, just about the time it's almost back down to baseline, you get up. And what's the first thing you do? You eat something. Whether it be your first snack of the day or your first actual meal of the day, either way, you're driving that insulin right back up again. Now again, I'm no scientist. I'm not a doctor. all of this is just my old retired truck driver opinion. But as I understand it, one of its many functions is either storage or removal of fat. I guess, insulin has to be low for your body to access its fat stores. So no matter what type of diet you're on, attempting to lose fat, if you never let your insulin get down to baseline, you're just spinning your wheels. And that's why I think this is some of the worst dietary advice ever. Because I thought I was doing great. I mean, my doctor kept telling me I was doing great. Or he'd say, you may want to watch that just a little bit. So I always thought I was right on the border of being good. And what happened? Well, 10 years later, I was in for a triple bypass surgery. So there was obviously something still wrong with it. And there are people out there every day talking about this type of diet. And I don't know if it actually works for anyone. I kind of doubt it. But some of these people have huge followings. So they're out there spreading this information about this worst diet ever as if it's the great savior of diabetics. And it's just not. Does it work for some people? I don't know. But what I do know is that every diabetic, type 2 diabetic that I've come across that has done the carnivore or very low carb ketogenic diet, they have all seen vast improvements in their type 2 diabetes, along with many other things. So I'll let you make up your own mind about whether I'm on the right track or somebody else is on the right track. And just for point of reference, my last 2 checks, now granted, the last check was about a year ago now, maybe even a little more. It was when I was down in North Carolina the last time. And I got an independent lab to run some numbers. But my A1C is 4.8 and holding pretty steady at that. And because it had been so stable for so long, I almost never check my blood sugar anymore. Once every month or so, I'll dig out my old test kit and stick my finger and check it just to make sure everything's still going good, and it always is. So I really don't worry about it anymore. I like to say that my diabetes is cured. Now, would it come raging back if I started dumping a bunch of carbs down my neck again? Probably. But I have no intention of dumping a bunch of carbs down my neck again. So that's what I wanted to talk about. I'll have some more thoughts when I get back up to the house. I know I've been walking kind of slow today because I'm trying to get a bigger walk in, but I'm still kind of struggling with that cold that just will not quite let go. But for now, let's go ahead and flip the camera around, cue the music, and I'll have some more thoughts when we get back to the house. Okay, cut the music. Thank you. Yeah, I'm coming back up on the house here. For those of you that haven't seen all of my other videos, you know that going around that big block is about 1.5 miles. But I think one of the reasons why I got so bad after my open heart surgery until I found Carnivore is the same kind of a psychological problem that so many of us have had to overcome. And that's, you may not think it specifically, but your body and your mind are talking to each other, and it's like, look, I've been doing everything that the doctor said, or very close to it, and I'm not really getting any better. In fact, I'm getting worse. I went from being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes to having a triple bypass surgery. Now, I'm sure my heart disease was already well on its way because of the diabetes, but it can be disheartening to, basically follow your doctor's instructions and not see any improvements, or very, very little improvements. And I've said this before, and this is a good time for me to say it again. The whole purpose of this channel, if I can reach one person today that's where I was 30 years ago, perhaps they can turn their life around today rather than waiting until they're 60 years old like I am. So again, help me get the word out, guys. If you can think of anybody that needs this information, feel free to share it. As always, you're free to share my videos with whoever you want. But that's what I've got for you today, folks. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, every day. Have a great day, folks. I'll see you in the next one.